You've been effectively driven out of your own university as an undergraduate, standing up against racism.
Indeed.
These people had flipped the script and said, if you don't sign up for our racism, you're a racist.
To the extent that I'm recognized, it is typically as a result of the meltdown at Evergreen and my stance.
It's Evergreen State College.
Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington, where I taught for 14 years, along with my wife, Heather Hying, who taught there for 15 years. We faced a mob of people who accused me of racism, and these were students. They were students I had never met. And the event was so colorful, and eventually when the world caught on to the fact that the protesters who became rioters had uploaded footage to the net, and so the whole event could effectively be seen from their perspective, it raised interest in some other quadrants. So, for example, I ended up on Joe Rogan's program, which is the place I'm probably most recognized from. And, my first appearance there, we talked about the Evergreen situation. And anyway, that's the bulk of how people know me.
All right. So you were a biologist teaching at a relatively obscure college that had previously been known for social activism. And I didn't love your introduction, because when you say, well, the students accuse me of racism, that leaves sort of a weird question. Like, why was he accused of racism? Let me solve the puzzle just immediately. Maybe you can't do this, because that was the closest we'd seen to a Maoist takeover inside of the United States of America ever. Like, it was a case of mass insanity, and the videos showed it to be mass insanity. And unless you had been indoctrinated to believe that Maoism of some form, Maoist re-education, was normal, the rest of the world said, OMG, what the heck is going on at this completely insane? And it wasn't just like one of these college craziness pieces. This is really an episode of broad institutional madness that was localized there. And I want to take it to be self-evident, because it is self-evident. The video exists. And if you took the people who were trying to pretend that you were a racist in their own terms, that was sufficient it was like the unreliable narrator. They were debunking themselves in the eyes of everyone who hadn't come under the spell of this particular kind of madness.
Well, there's a little more to it, in the sense that they were entirely unprepared for a white guy willing to say, no, I'm simply not a racist. And it just didn't occur to them that was going to happen. And it didn't occur to them that my own students weren't going to flee to their side at the point that they leveled their accusation, because those things would have been normal in this environment. But in my case, I grew up in a home. There were plenty of flaws in that home, as you know, but one of the places I don't think it was flawed was that it was very clear-headed about issues of inequality, race, justice. And so I really have the sense that these issues were really not new to me. And I had a long history at the college, lots of students of color.
You're explaining too much. I don't mean to be rude about it, but they were just crazy.
They were crazy, but my point is, the accusation is in and of itself so powerful in modern circumstances that the idea of standing up to it doesn't occur to most people. And the fact is, I was not well enough positioned. The thing descended into madness. It descended into literal anarchy with armed students roving the campus. The same mob was looking for me, searching car to car, for example. It was a very dangerous situation.
With baseball bats.
Baseball bats. But what I'm getting at is I checked with myself and did not feel vulnerable to this accusation. I felt most people could not endure it, but I was in a position to. And in an odd way...
You've been effectively driven out of your own university as an undergraduate, standing up against racism.
Indeed.
These people had flipped the script and said, if you don't sign up for our racism, you're a racist. Yeah.
They did.
Here's the thing. I have two documents that I've studied that have a lot of longevity to them. One begins with, we hold these truths to be self-evident. And the other one begins with, in the beginning. And I think we've made a huge mistake taking this as an argument. It's a non-serious position held by morons and idiots, or people who've been indoctrinated and infected with an idea that there's something left-wing about being a racist. I'm not interested in it. Mm-hmm. And I also think that it's really important to stop giving these people their due. Like, it's really important to exclude them from the conversation, because if you have to have a 3-day symposium as to whether or not racism can be redefined in a way that makes it impossible for certain people to be racist, but impossible for other people not to be racist, there's just no point. It just needs to be thrown in the garbage, because it's a suicide idea that wastes everyone's time and plunges the world into stupidity, madness, and hatred.
Well, you and I are in total agreement about the necessity to shut the bad actors out of the conversation. I do have some concern about a large number of people who fall into one of two camps. They're either confused, or they suffer from so much cowardice that they will sign up for ideas that they ought to know are wrong.
Yeah, but I think you're not getting the message. We've made a huge mistake, and I refuse to spend time, because these people have decided that this is a tax that we should pay, that they have a serious point. It's a non-serious point. It's a terrifying, moronic, non-serious point that you can redefine racism to be anti-racism and anti-racism to be racism.
Nobody knows this better than me.
Great.